Welcome back to another episode of Story Behind the Story. This is actually going to be our last episode of the semester, so
You hate to see it.
it's less than ideal. Joined once again by Andrew Wegley. We talked about what a storybook ending this is. I think you have been on every episode or every week of Story Behind the Story minus one.
I think I missed last week, and then there was one in the middle of the season that I couldn't make that Tucker filled in because he messed with me about it. But yeah, no, this is like really end of an era. I don't think it's a stretch to call this show a dynasty for sure.
And then this week, you wrote a feature on Omar Austin. What was your motivation to write this feature? Kind of what inspired you to write about Omar?
So I had actually talked to him in the indoor track season about just, track, obviously, and he had a little bit of an accent, and I was kind of like, where are you from? And he said, I'm from Newark, New Jersey, but I went to high school in Tampa. And I was like, Newark to Tampa to Northwest. I was interested in seeing how he got here. And then I followed him on Instagram, and I was looking through his Instagram a little bit. And he's from, he said one of his posts, he's from the Little Bricks Projects in Newark. And then he was kind of not supposed to be here and stuff like that. So I was like, this guy's got a story to tell. And I went to track practice and I'm trying to find out what that was. And, here we are.
Yeah, trying to figure out the story behind the story. So what is something that you learned about him as a person? Something that you wouldn't really know if you were just walking on the street and saw track athlete Omar Austin?
I wouldn't want to over dramatize his upbringing. I don't know how. I don't really know the details. If it was poverty, but he did say that Newark is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. He said in the world or in the country, but. He grew up there. His mom was the only parent in the picture. He didn't really know his dad at all, and he's kind of served as a father figure to his three younger siblings, and he's kind of used all of that to make him the athlete he is. He also played high school football. He didn't even plan on pursuing track at the collegiate level. He liked playing football as a defensive back, but I think he realized later in his career that he's like, I can do something with track more than I can with football because everybody wants to go be a football player. You were a football player in high school. Anybody can be a football player in high school. But so he pursued track at the next level, and now he's his own coach called him the fastest freshman in the country.
Yeah, to say the least, by far one of the fastest freshmen in the country. What is something that you learned that about him? What is something that you just quite couldn't put in those 1,200 words that you wrote?
He said something like, I want to be excellent, so I practice outside of practice. And he said, Kobe Bryant didn't just practice when the Lakers were practicing. He does his own work. And he had some other examples he was talking about, just I want this more than most people. And I couldn't get that Kobe Bryant quote in the story I wanted to, but I ran out of space and I ran out of story there. But it was glad I get to say it on here.
Yeah. So we will end it lighthearted. Last question of the semester for Story Behind the Story.
Wow.
You were on here 9 out of the 11 weeks. What was your favorite time being on, or your most fondest memory of Story Behind the Story?
Wow, that's
tough.
That's a tough question. You usually don't even you usually throw just normal questions at me. That's See, it's hard to pick because that's probably asking what's your favorite time you hit a home run? Because every time I come on this show, we just produce bangers. So I don't know. I think my favorite was probably when we were talking about something about Coach McCollum. Probably that when we were just talking about Coach McCollum's style. And we just focused more on what he was wearing that night than what he was coaching. The perfect team that he coached. So. Just that. It's a whole show. Everybody that works here is pretty awesome. It's just an awesome show. The whole thing. That's my answer.
That's fair.
Print that.
So we will end the season on that. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us, not only on this episode, but for the whole semester.
Anytime.
That is going to wrap things up for our final episode of Story Behind the Story. Make sure to check us possibly next semester when we return. But for this year, it's going to wrap things up for the KNWT Channel 8 YouTube exclusive.